Settle in now and let the room around you become quiet. Tonight, we are going into a winter forest after the path has disappeared. Snow has covered the road behind you. The light is fading between the pines, and the cold is no longer something only in the air. It is in the leather of your boots, in the wool at your wrists, in the breath that leaves your mouth and turns white before it vanishes. But the forest is not empty of help. If you move slowly, if you listen, if you use what the trees and snow give you, it is possible to make a small hidden shelter, just warm enough to last until morning. Before we begin, if you enjoy quiet sleep stories like this, you can subscribe for more calm journeys, peaceful cold weather stories, and relaxing bedtime narration. You can also leave a comment and tell us where you are listening from, what time it is where you are, and what winter story you would like to hear next. It is always wonderful to see how far these stories travel around the world. Now, get comfortable, let the room around you grow quiet, and allow the story to begin. The forest has been growing quieter for the last hour. At first, the path was still visible, a narrow line pressed into the snow by carts, boots, and animals that had passed before the storm began. Then the wind started moving across the open places, lifting loose snow from the banks and pouring it into the track until the line blurred. The trees closed in. The sky lowered. The white ground became harder to read. Now you are deep enough among the pines that the village road is no longer certain behind you. You stop beneath a dark branch and listen. Snow falls through the trees with a soft, steady hush. Somewhere above, a loaded bough gives way and spills its weight to the ground. The sound is muffled, heavy, and brief. Then the forest returns to silence. The cold is immediate. It has found the soles of your boots and is climbing slowly upward. It has entered the seams of your gloves. It has settled along your cheekbones, and inside the breath you draw through your nose. You pull the wool cloak closer and feel the fabric stiff where frozen mist has gathered near the edge. There is no panic. Panic would spend heat too quickly. There is only the clear knowledge that daylight is leaving, and you must make a place for the night before the dark becomes complete. You move again, but differently now, not as a traveler trying to reach a destination, as someone reading the land for shelter. The forest changes when you look at it this way. A fallen tree is not only a fallen tree, it may be a wall. A cluster of low branches may become a roof. A hollow behind a drift may block the wind. Pine needles under deep snow may keep the body away from frozen ground. Snow itself, if packed carefully, may become insulation instead of enemy. The wind moves through the trees and shows you where not to stop. It slides along open corridors between trunks, lifting the snow in thin white ribbons. You avoid those. You search instead for stillness. A place where snow lies softly, where branches hang low, where the air feels less sharp against the face. At last you find it. A great pine has fallen against two living trees, its trunk raised slightly from the ground at one end, its dark branches tangled with snow. Beneath it, there is a shallow space, not a shelter yet, only a possibility. But the wind is weaker there. The snow has gathered thickly on the outer side, while the inner side lies partly protected. You kneel. The snow at the entrance reaches your wrists as you brush it away. Under it, pine needles appear, then small broken twigs, then frozen earth. The ground is hard and deeply cold, but it is sheltered. The trunk above blocks the worst of the sky. The branches hold snow like a rough white roof. You crawl partly inside and feel the difference at once. Not warmth, not yet, but less wind. That is the first thing a winter shelter gives you. Not comfort, but a smaller problem. You back out and begin to work. Chapter 1. The first shape of shelter. You build with what the forest is willing to give. Dead branches first. The ones still hanging low, but dry enough to snap cleanly. You test each before keeping it. Some bend with hidden damp and are left where they are. Others break with a crisp sound and go into your growing pile. Your fingers ache with every motion, but the work brings blood back into them. The shelter begins as a dark space under the trunk. You widen it carefully, pushing loose snow to the outside, not throwing it away. Snow can become a wall if placed properly. You pack it along the windward side, pressing it with gloved hands until it holds its shape. The cold bites through the gloves, but you keep going. A low snow bank rises beside the fallen pine, sealing the largest gaps where wind had been slipping through. Then come the branches. Long ones lean against the trunk, their ends buried in the snow. Shorter ones fill the spaces between. The pine needles still attached to them catch snow and hold it. Slowly, the shelter changes from a gap under a fallen tree into a small covered hollow, hidden beneath branches and white weight. You do not make it large. Large spaces are harder to warm. The shelter needs only enough room for you to curl inside. Turn carefully. Keep a small bundle of wood nearby and breathe without pressing your face into snow. A winter shelter is not a house. It is an answer to the next few hours. You gather more pine needles and dry twigs for the floor. This matters more than it seems. The ground is colder than the air. It will take warmth from you all night if you let it. So you make a bed from layers. Twigs first, then needles, then the driest branches you can break into flat pieces, then more needles. It is uneven and rough, but it lifts you away from the frozen earth. You test it with one hand. The cold still comes through, but slower. Slower is survival. The light between the trees has dimmed to blue-gray by the time the shelter can hold its shape. You crawl inside and turn carefully. The entrance faces away from the wind. The roof brushes your shoulder. A few needles fall near your cheek. The air inside smells of pine, snow, bark, and the faint dampness of old wood. You lie still for a moment and listen. Outside, the forest remains wide and cold. Inside, the world has narrowed to your breath. Your cloak, the floor beneath you, the branch roof above, and the small opening through which pale evening light enters. It is not enough for the whole night, but it is enough for the next step. That is how you survive cold, not by solving winter, by solving the next thing winter asks of you. You back out once more, because there is still work before dark. Firewood, not much. A large fire would be foolish here. It would burn fuel too quickly, send smoke too high, and cast light beyond the trees. What you need is a small fire, low and hidden, more ember than flame. Something to warm the hands, dry the edge of the cloak, and leave coals that can be woken again. You choose a place just beyond the shelter, screened by the fallen trunk and a cluster of young pines. You clear snow down to earth, making a shallow pit with your heel and the edge of a broken branch. The earth beneath is frozen, but dark and dry enough at the surface. You line the pit with small sticks, then the dry needles, then a pinch of tinder kept wrapped inside your clothing, close to the body where it would stay dry. The first spark dies, the second catches and fades. You wait, breathe, try again. The third spark glows inside the tinder like a tiny red eye. You bend close and shield it with your hands. Your breath must be careful now. Too much and it dies. Too little and it fades. You give it just enough. A thread of smoke rises, then a flame, small, shivering, alive. You feed it the thinnest twigs first. The fire accepts them slowly. It does not become bright. It becomes real. That is enough. When you hold your hands near it, the heat feels almost painful. You had forgotten how much the fingers needed it. The fire is smaller than a cooking fire, smaller than a campfire, smaller than the fires people remember in stories. But here, under pines, in deep snow, as evening disappears, it feels like a second heart. You sit with it until the sky darkens fully. Chapter 2. The Low Fire Under the Pines. Night enters the forest from the ground upward. The snow loses its pale brightness first. Then the spaces between the trees darken. Then the branches above become one black shape against a sky you can barely see. The fire remains the only steady color near you, a low orange glow hidden in the shallow pit. You do not let it rise. Each time a flame reaches too high, you shift the wood, turn it inward, and let the embers do most of the work. Heat does not need to announce itself to be useful. In a forest at night, quiet warmth is better than bright warmth. The smoke stays low for a while, then drifts sideways through the branches. You watch its direction. The air is mostly still, but not completely. A slow movement passes from west to east, carrying the smoke away from the entrance of your shelter. That is good. Smoke inside the shelter would wet the throat and sting the eyes. Smoke rising straight above the trees could be noticed from far away. Sideways, broken by branches, thinned by falling snow, it disappears more quickly. You warm one side of your body, then turn and warm the other. The cloak steams faintly where snow has melted along the hem. You hold that damp edge near the fire, but never close enough to scorch. Wool keeps warmth even when damp, but dry wool is better. Every small improvement matters. A sound moves somewhere beyond the firelight. You phrase, not because it is large, because it is close enough to be different from the general settling of the forest. A soft crunch, then a pause. Another crunch, then nothing. You listen with your whole body. The fire shifts softly in the pit. Snow falls from a branch farther away. The sound does not return. Maybe an animal. Maybe snow slipping from bark. Maybe something that heard you first and changed its mind. You remain still until your breathing slows again. Cold forests do not reward curiosity at night. If a sound does not come closer, you do not go toward it. You let the darkness keep its own business. The fire lowers. You add 2 small sticks and wait until they catch. Then you place a slightly thicker branch across the embers, not to burn quickly, but to char and hold heat. The branch hisses once where frost inside it meets flame. You turn it until the sound fades. Your stomach is not full, but it is not empty enough to force movement. You have a little bread wrapped inside the cloak, hard from cold. You warm it near the fire until it softens at the edge. It tastes plain, smoky, and slightly damp, but it settles the body. Food is warmth, moving inward. You eat slowly, letting each bite become part of the night's work. After eating, you carry a few warmed stones from the edge of the fire pit toward the shelter. Not hot enough to burn, just warm enough to hold in a cloth and place near your feet for a while. They will not last all night, but they will help the hardest part of settling in. You bank the fire carefully before entering the shelter. Ash over part of the coals. Small fuel placed close enough to dry. A branch screen adjusted so the glow cannot be seen easily through the trees. Then you crawl inside. The shelter is darker now, but it feels more yours. Your body knows the narrow turn. Your hand finds the dry bundle of needles. Your feet slide toward the warm stones. Your cloak wraps tightly. The entrance remains partly open, enough for air, not enough for wind to come straight in. You lie on your side because lying flat would expose too much body to the cold floor. Knees drawn up, hands tucked under arms, chin lowered into the cloak. The posture is not elegant. It is ancient, practical, and immediately warmer. Outside, the fire breathes low. Inside, your own breath begins warming the small space around your face. The forest is still enormous, but your world has become small enough to survive. Chapter 3. Reading the Snow. You sleep in pieces, a little while, then waking. Another short drift, then the return of cold along the shoulders. A sound outside, a shift of your own body, the sense that the fire might need attention. The night does not give you one deep rest. It gives you fragments, and you accept them because fragments are better than none. Sometime after midnight, the snow stops falling. You know before you see it because the sound changes. The soft hiss against the branch roof fades. The forest becomes clearer, but not louder. The quiet after snow is different from the quiet during snow. It feels open, watchful. You wait a little longer before crawling out. The cold meets you with a sharper edge now. Without falling snow, the air feels cleaner, harder. The fire pit shows only a dull glow beneath ash. You kneel beside it and breathe life back into the coals, adding thin twigs, then a curl of bark. Flame returns slowly. While the fire wakes, you look at the ground beyond the shelter. Tracks, not many, and not close enough to alarm you. Small paired marks crossing near a fallen branch, then disappearing toward denser shrubs. A hare, perhaps. It moved while you slept, trusting the night and the snow to cover it. The marks are fresh enough that their edges remain crisp. You do not follow them far, not in darkness, but you study them. Where the animal passed, the snow is slightly lower beneath the shrubs. There may be a path there. Animals choose sheltered routes when they can. They know where the wind is weaker, where branches block snow, where the ground offers less resistance. A person can learn from that. You warm your hands again and make a decision. A simple snare may be worth trying at first light if the tracks remain visible. Not now. Now you need rest, not wandering. You mark the direction in your mind. Beyond the split birch, under the low spruce, toward the dark hollow where the snow lies thinner. When the fire has strengthened enough, you warm the stones again and carry them back inside. This time, before lying down, you add more snow to the outside wall of the shelter. The snow has settled during the night, leaving a gap near the lower branch. You pack it closed with slow, careful pressure, pressing until it holds. The work makes your fingers sting, but the shelter immediately feels less drafty when you crawl back in. You understand something now that you did not fully understand before. A shelter is not built once. It is negotiated through the night. Snow settles, wind changes, branches bend, breath adds frost, fire lowers, the body cools. Each time you answer a little. You adjust, add, move, close, open, warm, rest. There is no single heroic act, only attention. Back inside, the warmth from the stones touches your feet. You curl tighter and let your breathing become steady again. The tracks remain in your mind, not as urgency, but as knowledge saved for morning. The forest has shown you one of its small roads. You do not need to walk it yet. For now, you let that knowing be enough. The next time you wake, dawn has begun. Not sunlight. Only a pale grayness entering the shelter through the small opening. The fire outside has gone low again, but not dead. The shelter walls hold. Snow clings to the roof and makes the inside dimmer, softer, more enclosed. Your body aches from the curled position, yet the ache is joined by relief. You made it to morning. The first morning in a winter shelter feels like proof. Not proof that you are safe forever, only proof that the night did not take you. You push the entrance open and crawl into the gray light. Chapter 4. The morning after deep snow. The forest at dawn looks newly made. Snow lies smooth over every surface except where trees have shaken it loose. The sky is a flat winter gray. No color yet, only variations of white, black bark, blue shadow, and the faint orange glow where your fire waits beneath ash. You stand slowly because the body is stiff from the night. Knees first, then hips, then back. Your shoulders crack softly when you straighten. Cold enters the cloak at the neck, and you tighten it at once. The day has arrived, but warmth has not. You check the shelter before anything else. The roof is intact. The snow wall has held. The entrance is partly drifted, but clear enough. The floor layer has compressed. You will need more needles before the next night. The branch screen near the fire still hides the pit from the open forest. The warmed stones are cold now, but they served their purpose. Only after checking all this do you walk toward the tracks. The hare's path is still visible, though softened by a faint dusting of new snow. You follow it slowly, stepping beside your own prints when possible, avoiding unnecessary marks. The path leads under low spruce branches where the air is calmer and the snow less deep. You crouch there and see where the animal passed more than once. This is a good place. You set a snare with the small cord you have. It takes time because your fingers are stiff. You warm them under your arms, then continue. The loop must sit at the right height. The anchor must hold. The path must appear undisturbed enough that the animal does not change course. The work is delicate, patient, and uncertain. You set it and leave. Hope is useful only if it does not make you foolish. Back near the shelter, you wake the fire properly. Not high, never high, just enough to warm water from snow in a small metal cup. Snow melts slowly into less water than it seemed to promise. You add more, wait, add more. The cup warms, then steams. You drink carefully because hot water in the morning is almost as valuable as food. The first sip reaches the throat like kindness. The forest remains quiet while you drink. A crow calls far away once. Its voice is harsh against the soft morning. Then another answers. The sound makes the world feel larger again, reminding you that the forest does not belong to the cold alone. Things live here. Things watch. Things move through hidden roots you are only beginning to understand. You spend the next hour improving the shelter. Not rebuilding, improving. More needles on the floor. A tighter branch layer near the entrance. Snow packed higher on the windward side. A small place for dry twigs inside the shelter where they will not be buried if snow returns. A clearer channel near the fire pit so melted snow can run away from the coals instead of drowning them. The work warms you more than the fire for a time. Then it tires you. You stop before exhaustion turns useful effort into danger. Sitting near the low fire, you eat the last piece of bread. It is hard again, but the warm water helps. You chew slowly, watching the pines. Morning passes without becoming bright. The sky remains heavy. The trees hold still. The cold stays close. You think of moving on. The thought comes because daylight exists, because the body always wants to turn survival into travel once morning proves possible. But the forest gives no clear invitation. The snow is deep. The path behind you is uncertain. The shelter, imperfect as it is, has held one night and can be improved for another. Moving would spend the day. Staying would spend the food. There is no perfect choice. You look toward the snare path and decide to wait until afternoon. This is not laziness. It is calculation. The shelter has become a center. Fire, cover, dry needles, a known windbreak, a place where the body understands how to turn. Leaving it without a better destination would be foolish. So you stay and use the daylight to make it stronger. The forest, for now, accepts your presence. You try to become quieter inside it. Chapter 5. The forest, GIVES, a little back. By late afternoon, the snare has tightened. You see it from several steps away and stop before rushing forward. The forest has given something, but even gratitude must move carefully. You approach with respect, finish the necessary work quickly, and bring the small catch back toward the shelter, wrapped inside cloth. There is no triumph, only relief. Food in winter is too serious for celebration. You prepare it near the fire with efficient hands, using everything that can be used, wasting nothing that might become warmth. The work is quiet and focused. The smell rises slowly when the meat begins to cook, rich enough after hunger that it almost overwhelms you. You keep the fire low and shielded, watching the smoke. Cold air carries, scent sharply. You do not want the whole forest to know you have eaten. The meal is small, but it changes the day. After the first bites, warmth moves deeper than fire can reach. The body takes the food and begins turning it into endurance. Your thoughts clear, the hands steady, the ache behind the eyes softens. You wrap what remains carefully and place it inside the cloak where it will not freeze as quickly. The sun, hidden all day, begins to lower behind the gray. You feel evening gather. Before dark, you clear the fire pit, bank coals beneath ash, and carry more small wood into the shelter. You add another layer of snow to the outer wall because the temperature has shifted and the surface is beginning to crust. Crusted snow can be useful if shaped before it hardens too much. It holds better against the wind. The shelter now has a real form, low, hidden, white from the outside, dark and close within. It is nearly invisible from a distance unless someone knows what to look for. The fallen pine breaks its outline. The snow softens it. The branches confuse it with the forest floor. You crawl inside before full dark and turn slowly, testing the space. Better. The floor is thicker, the entrance smaller, the wind weaker. wood bundle reachable, the warmed stones placed near your feet again, the cloak dried enough near the fire to feel lighter around your shoulders. You are not comfortable, but you are less exposed than last night. That difference feels enormous. As darkness grows, snow begins again. Not a storm yet, only fine flakes drifting down through the branches. You watch them pass the shelter entrance, catching the last dim light. The falling snow makes the world outside softer and harder to read. It will cover your tracks. It will cover other tracks too. It will hide you and blind you at the same time. You lie still and listen. Somewhere far away, a branch cracks under weight. Nearer, a small animal moves beneath the shrubs, then stops. The fire pit outside glows faintly through the branch screen, barely visible even to you. You think about the next day, then let the thought go. Tomorrow is too large to hold at night. The shelter asks only that you survive until morning. So you return to smaller things. The breath inside the cloak, the warm stone near your foot, the smell of pine above, the low fire outside, the quiet fall of snow, the meat resting safely wrapped near your body, the entrance wall holding against the wind. Small things, enough things. Sleep comes in fragments again, but the fragments are softer than before. Chapter 6. The blizzard that bulds the wall. The wind returns after midnight. At first, it moves gently through the upper branches, waking the snow that had gathered there and sending it down in soft falls. Then it grows stronger. The shelter darkens as snow presses against the entrance. The branch roof trembles lightly. The air inside changes, becoming heavier and closer. You wake fully, not frightened, alert. The storm has shifted. You push one arm toward the entrance and clear a space for air. Snow spills inward and melts against your sleeve. The cold bites at once, but the opening matters. You pack the snow lower, shaping it around the sides rather than letting it seal the shelter completely. A shelter must protect, but it must also breathe. Outside, the wind drives snow across the ground in long streams. The fire is gone under white. That loss hurts for a moment, then you accept it. The coals may survive beneath ash and snow, they may not. You cannot tend them safely in the full wind. The shelter is the priority now. You work from inside, pressing snow into gaps, pulling branches tighter, adding loose needles where cold air slips through, using your shoulder to hold the roof while the wind leans against it. The shelter creaks, then settles. Snow piles onto the windward side, and the strange thing happens. The more the storm presses, the more insulated the shelter becomes, so long as it does not collapse or seal completely. The snow that threatened to bury you begins to thicken the walls. The wind that searched for gaps also shows you where to close them. You answer as best you can. After a while, the inside grows quieter. The storm still moves outside, but its voice is muffled by the snow that has gathered around you. Your shelter has become less like a lean-to and more like a small, snow-covered chamber framed by pine, sealed by winter itself. You keep one narrow breathing opening clear. Then you stop working. There is a point where more effort becomes waste. The body needs warmth more than improvement. You curl back into the bedding, pull the cloak tight, and hold your hands under your arms until the fingers stop hurting. The darkness is complete now. No fire glow, no sky, no visible trees, only the hollow, your breath, and the low sound of wind passing over the snow shell. It is strangely calming, not safe in a careless way, but contained. The world has become unreachable for a while, and because you cannot move through it, you do not have to decide where to go. The storm has taken choice away, and with it, some of the strain. You listen to the shelter. The roof holds, the wall holds, the opening breathes. The floor keeps you off the ground. The cloak keeps your warmth close. The body slowly believes what the mind is checking. You are still here. Snow continues to build through the night. Now and then you wake and clear the breathing hole with 2 fingers. Once, you press upward when a heavy clump settles above you. Once, you turn the warm stones, though they have lost most of their heat. Once, you take a small bite of the saved food, not from hunger only, but to give the body work from inside. The storm does not end quickly, but you stop measuring it. There is only the next breath, the next small adjustment, the next time the body returns to stillness. By the deepest hour of night, the shelter is almost silent. The wind moves beyond it, but the snow has taken the sharpness away. Your breathing grows louder than the storm. The beat of your own heart seems close, steady, private. This is winter at its most complete, and yet, inside the hidden shelter, under fallen pine and deep snow, you are warm enough to remain. Chapter 7. The morning under white quiet. When morning comes, it does not enter as light. It enters as a change in the darkness. The black inside the shelter becomes blue-gray. The snow near the opening glows faintly. The storm has passed, or moved far enough away that its sound no longer fills the trees. You lie still for a while, not because you are asleep, but because the quiet after a blizzard deserves respect. Everything outside has been remade again. You push gently at the entrance. Snow resists. You clear it slowly, widening a hole no larger than necessary. Cold air enters, but not with yesterday's violence. It is still, almost delicate. You crawl out into a world so bright that your eyes close at once. The forest is buried. Your tracks are gone. The fire pit is gone. The snare path is gone. Every mistake, every choice, every footprint from yesterday has been smoothed into one white surface. The fallen pine shelter is now almost invisible from a few steps away. A soft mound beneath branches, breathing through the small hole you made. For a moment, you only stand. The cold is deep, but the wind has stopped. Snow lies on the branches in thick white shelves. The sky is pale. The forest is silent in a way that feels less dangerous than holy. Even sound seems reluctant to disturb the morning. You find the fire pit by memory. Under snow and ash, one coal remains faintly alive. You smile before you mean to. Not broadly, just enough for warmth to enter the face. You clear the pit, add tinder, and coax the coal patiently. It takes time. Twice you think it has failed. Then a glow strengthens, a thread of smoke lifts, and a small flame returns. The fire has survived under snow. So have you. You warm water again. Eat the last saved bite. Check the shelter roof. Add more needles to the floor. Clear the breathing opening better now that the storm is gone. The day begins not with travel, but maintenance. The forest is too deep for easy movement. You accept that you may need another night here. The thought is less frightening than it would have been yesterday. The shelter is better now. The snow wall is thick. The fire can be revived. You know where the sheltered animal path lies, even if it is hidden for the moment. You know how the wind moves through this part of the trees. You know the sound of snow settling on the roof. You know how to curl so the body loses less heat. You know how long the stones hold warmth. Knowledge has gathered around you like another layer. By afternoon, the sky clears for a little while. Pale sunlight touches the upper branches. It does not bring warmth, not much, but it changes the snow into glittering fields of small lights. The forest, which had seemed only severe, becomes beautiful in a quiet and distant way. You sit near the small fire and let yourself look at it, not as a problem to solve, as a place, the deep snow, the pines, the low shelter, the faint smoke, the hidden tracks beneath the white surface, the silence after the storm, your own breath moving slowly in the cold air. You are no longer only enduring the forest. You are beginning to understand its pace. That understanding is not comfort exactly, but it makes fear smaller. Chapter 8. The second night is SOFTR. The second night in the shelter begins with less uncertainty. The cold is still severe. The forest is still vast. Food is still limited. Fire must still be managed. The shelter could still fail if ignored, but you no longer meet each detail as a stranger. Before dark, you prepare with the calm of repetition. The fire is banked, not abandoned. The breathing hole is shaped so drifting snow will not close it quickly. A small branch is placed inside near your hand, useful for clearing the opening without reaching too far into the cold. The floor is thickened with dry needles. The cloak is arranged before lying down, not after. The warm stones are wrapped and placed near the feet. You enter the shelter earlier this time, not from fear, from wisdom. The best work against cold is done before the cold reaches its strongest hour. Outside, the last light fades. Inside, the shelter holds the day's small improvements. The snow walls make the darkness softer. The pine roof smells cleaner after the storm. The floor still presses unevenly into your hip, but you know where to shift. The air is cold near the entrance, warmer near the back. Your body finds the right place. The forest moves into night around you. A faint wind passes above without entering. Snow falls once from a branch and lands on the roof with a soft weight. The fire outside gives no visible light from where you lie, but you know the coals are there, buried under ash, waiting. That knowing is enough. Your breathing slows more quickly than before. The mind tries once to wander toward tomorrow, whether to move, where the road may be, whether deeper cold waits beyond this calm. You let those thoughts pass. Tonight is not for choosing the whole future. Tonight is for resting inside what has been built. The shelter is not comfortable in the way a bed is comfortable. It is narrow, cold at the edges, rough beneath the body. But it has become familiar, and familiarity has its own warmth. Your hand knows the branch above. Your foot knows where the warm stone rests. Your shoulder knows how far to turn before touching the snow wall. Your ear knows the difference between roof settling and something moving outside. The body trusts what it understands, and trust saves energy. You lie curled under the cloak, breathing into the wool so the air warms before entering your lungs. The fabric grows damp near your mouth, so you shift slightly, letting it cool away from your skin. Another small adjustment, another quiet answer. Outside, the snow-covered forest stretches in every direction. Inside, your hidden shelter holds one person, one breath, one pocket of warmth. It is enough for sleep to come closer. Not all at once, gently, in small waves. Final descent beneath the snow-covered pines. Now let the story become softer. There is nowhere else to go tonight. The shelter has been shaped. The fire has been banked. The snow wall has settled into place. The pine branches hold above you. The floor beneath you is layered with needles and twigs. The cloak is wrapped close. The warm stones rest near your feet. The breathing hole is clear. Enough has been done. Let that be true. Outside, the forest is deep and white. The pines stand still under snow. The tracks are covered. The wind has moved away for now. The dark spaces between the trees no longer ask you to follow them. They can remain where they are, quiet and unknown. Inside, the shelter is small, small enough to warm with breath, small enough to understand by touch, small enough for the mind to stop searching. Breathe in slowly, pine and cold air. Breathe out, the shelter holds. Breathe in, the snow is quiet. Breathe out, the body can rest. If thoughts come, let them fall like snow onto the roof. Softly, one at a time. A thought about tomorrow can settle above the branches. A memory of the storm can sink into the snow wall. A worry about the path can be covered gently until morning. Nothing has to be followed through the forest now. Your feet can soften first. They are no longer walking through deep snow. They are tucked beneath the cloak, near the last warmth of the stones. Let the ankles loosen. Let the legs become heavy. Let the knees rest in the curled shape that keeps the body warm. Let the hips settle into the rough bed of pine needles. Let the back release its effort. Let the shoulders lower. Let the hands stay close to the chest, warm and still. The shelter breathes with you. A little air enters through the opening. A little warmth remains inside. The balance is delicate, but it is holding. You do not need to watch it every second now. The forest outside is not gone, but it has become distant. The trees are only shapes beyond snow. The frozen path is only a memory. The storm is only a low story the branches might tell tomorrow. The cold is still there, but it has been slowed by every layer between it and your skin. Snow, branches, needles, wool, breath, stillness. Each layer helps. Each one says, softly stay. The fire outside is low under ash. You cannot see it from here, but you know it is there. A hidden ember. A small red memory beneath gray powder. In the morning, perhaps, it will wake again. For now, it does not need to be flame. It only needs to remain possible. Let the mind become like that ember. Low, quiet, safe beneath ash. No need to burn brightly. The snow above the shelter muffles the world. It softens every sound before it reaches you. A branch settling becomes a sigh. A distant movement becomes nothing urgent. The forest is wide, but the night inside the shelter is narrow and calm. Breathe in and out, again, in and out. The body remembers that it survived the first night. It remembers the shelter holding through wind. It remembers the fire returning from coals. It remembers food warming the stomach. It remembers the storm becoming a wall. It remembers morning under white quiet. Now it can rest more deeply. Nothing more to build. Nothing more to clear. Nothing more to decide. Only the hidden shelter in the deep snow. Only the pine roof above. Only the cloak around you. Only the quiet breath entering and leaving. Sleep can come lightly at first, like snow beginning again after a pause. A soft touch, then another, then enough to cover the sharp edges of the day. Let it gather. Let it smooth the path. Let it hide the footprints of thought. You are held here for tonight, not by certainty, by care, by the small choices already made, by the fallen pine, by the snow packed along the wall, by the dry needles beneath you, by the wool close to the body, by the ember outside, by the patient rhythm of your breath. Rest now. The forest is quiet. The shelter is hidden. The storm has moved away. The cold waits outside the layers. And beneath the snow-covered pines, the night is soft enough for sleep. The darkness inside the shelter becomes softer the longer you remain still. It no longer feels empty. It has the shape of the roof, the wall, the floor, the cloak, the small opening where air enters. It is a known darkness now, and known darkness can be peaceful. Outside, the snow keeps its own silence. It covers the fallen branches, the old tracks, the rough places where the wind worked during the storm. It covers everything without hurry. In that covering, the forest grows less sharp, and your thoughts can do the same. Let the last images loosen. The snare path can fade. The fire pit can fade. The long white spaces between trees can fade. The shelter remains only as a feeling now. Low, hidden, close, protected, just warm enough. Breathe in. The pine roof holds. Breathe out. The snow wall holds. Breathe in. The cloak is warm. Breathe out. The night can pass by itself. The darkness inside the shelter becomes softer the longer you remain still. It no longer feels empty. It has the shape of the roof, the wall, the floor, the cloak, the small opening where air enters. It is a known darkness now, and known darkness can be peaceful. Outside, the snow keeps its own silence. It covers the fallen branches, the old tracks, the rough places where the wind worked during the storm. It covers everything without hurry. In that covering, the forest grows less sharp, and your thoughts can do the same. Let the last images loosen. The snare path can fade. The fire pit can fade. The long white spaces between trees can fade. The shelter remains only as a feeling now. Low, hidden, close, protected, just warm enough. Breathe in. The pine roof holds. Breathe out. The snow wall holds. Breathe in. The cloak is warm. Breathe out. The night can pass by itself. The darkness inside the shelter becomes softer the longer you remain still. It no longer feels empty. It has the shape of the roof, the wall, the floor, the cloak, the small opening where air enters. It is a known darkness now, and known darkness can be peaceful. Outside, the snow keeps its own silence. It covers the fallen branches, the old tracks, the rough places where the wind worked during the storm. It covers everything without hurry. In that covering, the forest grows less sharp, and your thoughts can do the same. Let the last images loosen. The snare path can fade. The fire pit can fade. The long white spaces between trees can fade. The shelter remains only as a feeling now. Low, hidden, close, protected, just warm enough. Breathe in. The pine roof holds. Breathe out. The snow wall holds. Breathe in. The cloak is warm. Breathe out. The night can pass by itself.